What's going on, everyone, and welcome back to another video. This video is going to be about my experiences with the Blackmagic cameras over the past 2 years or so, and we're going to do a little breakdown of this camera right here. This camera I have talked about in a previous video, which I will link somewhere up here, about a more run and gun approach, but for a more commercial setup, this is the one that I will always go for. And I'm going to go through the parts that I've used for this camera, and then I'm going to talk about the 3 main reasons why, if you think you're at a point where you want to delve deep into cinematography and trying to understand what it is to be a cinematographer, I want to talk to you why this might be the go-to camera for you. This video is brought to you by Tilta. A lot of the parts that I use on my camera are from Tilta, and so I just want to say thank you to them for sending out a lot of the parts. And without further ado, let's break down my Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 6K. So to start off with, we have the main camera itself. It's pretty bare bones at the moment. It's got a few attachments on here just to get myself started. So we've got the Tilta full cage on here. We also have a hand grip, which just means that when it's fully kitted out, it just gives me a bit more support when I'm handling it. And then attached in here, we have a right angle HDMI port, just to reduce HDMI cables breaking, pretty much, because you really don't want that to happen. This is the Tilta 15mm rod base plate. And the great thing about this is that it just slides into place, and then we can just latch that down and get a really solid fit for this camera, and then it stands up properly, and I can present it all to you right here. We'll then talk about the lens. So we have my Sigma 18-35. I pretty much shoot everything with this, and on that we have a Tilta seamless gearing, again for the follow focus system. We'll then go for the top handle next. So again, this is just a Tilta top handle, and it's got a little cold shoe, hot shoe plate on there as well. That is usually for my shotgun mic, which I don't have me on, which I don't have on me right now. And then that just screws into the top of my camera. Get something that looks like that. We'll then go on to my 15mm rods. Not much to say about these. These are just from Small Rig, and these slide right underneath. This one's a little bit tough. There we go. It's just, that's a bit too far. We'll get it just in line with the lens, and then I won't screw it down just yet, just in case we need to make any more adjustments. The next bit is the universal V-mount battery plate from Tilta, which just slides onto the back like that. Make sure that's level, and then we'll just screw that down just like that. And then once I'm happy with that, I'll then screw down the actual plate itself. Now, what's great about this is that when I attach a V-mount to it, it turns the single V-mount DTAP ports into 2 of them, with a USB-C in and a USB-C out. So currently I have a USB-C cable clamped in there, which I'll talk about in a minute. And then we'll just attach a V-mount to the back. These are from Kaya Kua. These are, again, just very bog standard from Amazon, about 80 quid each. And that just slides onto the back. Then we'll sort out the handle. So this is just a Tilta or run stop handle. I don't think it works with the Blackmagic cameras. However, they just kindly sent it out to me. And again, works very well with the Tilta cage system. And that just screws right into place. And so with this handle and the little Small Rig hand grip pouch thing, just gives me a really solid grip for when I'm recording. Next, we'll move on to my monitor. So this is just a Atom Shinobi 5-inch, and then that is attached to a Tilta mount. Can you tell that this video is partnered by Tilta? Then that just screws down, just like that. And then we will take our HDMI cable I'll link everything in the description. This is just, again, a very bog standard one. Not everything has to be expensive with this. And this is coiled and it's angled as well. So it just removes the chances of anything breaking. And then we will add on our SSD holder to record onto. So this screws directly into the cage itself, and then that just screws in to the port on the camera. Just give me a sec. Yep, that's all screwed in, lovely. And then we will just attach our Samsung T5 SSD, and that just screws in. Then we have our cable to power on the Blackmagic. So this just feeds into the 12 volt on the side of the camera. And then what we'll do is we'll just wrap the cable around the back just to keep things nice and neat. Make sure nothing's in the way. And then that just plugs into the battery plate on the back. And that's just powered on. Then the next cable is our NPF to DTAP, which means that I can power the Shinobi pretty much all day without having to replace the batteries. And then if I just feed it, that will plug directly into the V-mount in the back. And it will have a NATO rail attachment for the Tilta Nucleus Nano. So that just sits on the 15mm rod right there. And then speaking of that, here is the Tilta Nucleus Nano 2. And then this has, they changed it to a NATO on the back of that instead of its own proprietary mount. So that just latches onto the side. And then this is the motor, which will slide onto there. And get it in the teeth right there. Right, just like that. And then the cable that is attached into the back of the battery plate is for the Tilta Nucleus Nano. So again, I'm just gonna feed that through a whole host of accessories until it reaches the port at the front, just like that. Then for my filter of choice, we've got the MCKINNON 2-5 variable ND, which will just screw onto the front of the lens like that. Sometimes I do use a matte box depending on the conditions, like if it's really sunny outside or if it's chucking it down. But for the most part, that is pretty much all I use. And then the final piece of the puzzle is a Tilta articulating arm, which directly screws into the back of the battery plate. And then I will screw that into my Zoom audio recorder, because I'm discovering that I am stopping the camera too early, and sometimes someone says something like really important, and I want to make sure that I'm always capturing audio. And so once that's screwed down, that just sits in the back of there, and that is my Blackmagic 6K Pocket Cinema camera setup. So you might look at a setup like this and think that it's very daunting to look at, and you're thinking, I could never shoot on something just like this. And it didn't look like this on day one. I mean, it looked more like this, and then you add to it more and more over time, and you might create something that looks like this, but you might create your own in your own signature way. But I just want to talk about the reasons why, say you're on a mirrorless camera and it's good, but it's not quite giving you that look that you're after, and you want to become more of a cinematographer and explore cinematography more, and why this might be a good option for you is one, and it's a big one, it's the price. Now, these are going for maybe like $1,000, possibly the 4K, even cheaper. Actually, I think the 4K runs about £800 these days if it's like secondhand. Also, I would advise secondhand because you can pick up some really good deals. And then the 6K maybe between like £1,000 and £1,500. And it means that you can delve into the world of cinema without having to drop maybe 3.5, 4 grand. And Something like the FX3 is fantastic, and I definitely can see a use case for me where it would be really handy. But there's just something about the look of a Blackmagic camera and the 12-bit RAW and the image that's just coming out of it is just so desirable to me. And I love everything about them. And that's why I continue to shoot on them to this day, 2 years after I picked up my first Blackmagic camera. The second thing is that it's all manual. Now, again, that might seem daunting because like, well, I want all the autofocus and I want the auto tracking and all that sort of stuff. But when it comes to a camera that is all manual, you really learn about what it takes to capture a great image. Because before this, I was on the A7III. Autofocus was okay, but at least it had autofocus. But it was the dynamic range and the image, it wasn't what I was after. And I was like, oh, I don't want to get the FX3 because it was too expensive. With something like this, it really taught me how to take really good footage and create a really good image. And it taught me more about lighting and how to set up this sort of shot. And after 2 years of being on this, I can actually come back to my A7III and make that look good. Still not as good as a camera just like this, but it taught me how to color grade, and it taught me how to find the right angle, and it taught me to find the right light. And I think that knowledge is way more beneficial to you instead of just going out there and getting a camera which can essentially do a lot of it for you. And the final part of this as to why I think you should pick up this camera is it's just fun. It's fun to rig out your camera. It's fun to rock up to places and bring this and it be a topic of conversation. Now, that sort of thing is definitely not high up on the priority list, but for such a cheap price, you can learn different parts of the cinema world. Like, I didn't know what a follow focus was, didn't really know what a V-mount was, I didn't know what it is to capture great audio, and owning this camera has made me learn all these things, which I don't think I would have learned if I just stuck to a mirrorless camera. And so again, just really appreciative of what this camera has done for my career. It's safe to say that shooting on something like this does make me feel good about where I am in my career, and it makes me feel confident in myself, and it makes the client know that I'm going to do a great job. I love everything about how this looks and how it makes me feel when I'm going onto a set. So that's just a little video today about why you might want to pick up a Blackmagic camera in the future if you're starting to delve into the world of cinematography. If you like what you saw and you want to see more of it, then make sure to like, comment and subscribe. Leave a comment down below if you want to know anything more about the Blackmagic cameras that you see here today, and I'll see you all in the next video. Cheers guys.